ओम सदाशिवसमारंभां शंकराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्परां। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुसाक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। ओम सहना भवतु सहनो भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहि तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहि। ओम शांति शांति शांति। Verse number 18. Sakaram anrutam vidhi nirakaram tu nischalam etat tattvopadeshena na punarbhava sambhavah. In this verse, Rishi Astavakra wants to highlight that Punarbhava or Punarjanma Sambhava is possible, the rebirth is possible, as long as Ajnanam is there. So that means Ajnana Janyam Punarjanma iti. And what is that Ajnana? So Ajnana Janyaha Punarjanma, when he says, look, Sakaram Anrutam Vidhi iti. May you know that Sakaram, so Sakaram means the form, the modifications. Or you can say, what you see, what you relate, ityartha. And here he says, look, all these are false. Starting with my body-mind complex, the house that I hold on, the power, position, anything I look at. So whatever has got a form, whether it is visible, heard, means that are perceived by any one of the sense organs, ityartha. And they are nothing but anrutam, means false. Then he says, nirakaram tu nischalam vidhi iti. So if this is the case, may you know that nirakaram, that akaram which is free from any sort of modification or any sort of, let us say, form, the formless ityartha, is nischalam, means that is what is changeless and that is what happens to be truth. And he says, etat tattvopadeshena, by understanding this. And what is this? This is called Tattva Upadesha. By this teaching of truth, na punarbhava sambhavaha. So there is no possibility of rebirth. Now, why he highlights this thing? One point, as we know, everywhere we do talk this thing, that sarvam namarupam mithya iti. Whatever name and form that we come across, All name and form being mithya, we don't have to hold on to. That's why we say very nicely, as the water keeps flowing, you cannot step into the same river twice. So also, holding on to Namarupa, you cannot be happy either. Try your level best. Will you be able to step into the same river twice? It is impossible. If you say, no, last year I came and stepped into Ganga, now this year again I have come and stepped into the Ganga. Thank you. Last year you were 1 year old, now 1 year is gone. And how much water has passed by? Forget about that. The shape and size of Ganga has changed. In fact, every moment it changes. So when you cannot step into the same river twice, you cannot meet the same person twice. In fact, you cannot do the same thing every time because the person has changed. But even though we understand up to some extent, but we keep expecting same thing from others, from situation. There never changes. Can you see this point? So he says, Sarvam Namarupam Mithya iti. Anything and everything that you see, that is available in the form of name and form, they are mithya. That means I don't have to rely upon, I don't have to give that much importance to it either. That's why what we need to do, we have to understand Nirakaram to Nischalam iti. Means Atma Nirakara iti. Me is Akara Vihina. And I am always Sada Achala Nitya. I am always, immovable and eternal. Ityartha. Whereas what I have, this body-mind complex, they are Sakara. They will fall off as time comes. But I should not be considering me as Sakara Ityartha. So, etat tattvapadeshana asya upadesasya grahanena. So if the person starts listening to this teaching, starts abiding with this, starts understanding this, punarbhava sambhava na bhavati. So there is no possibility of rebirth. Why and how? Because when the person starts listening to it, now starts working on deha abhimana. The whole purpose is working with deha abhimana. That identification with this body-mind complex. The association, oneness, considering that body is me, slowly becomes weaker and weaker. And once it becomes weaker, then the understanding takes over and this becomes weaker. Problem is, sometimes we run parallel thinking. So when we run parallel thinking, it doesn't work. The whole teaching, this Upadesha, fails not because of anything. Like the student comes to the teacher with, let us say, some helplessness. That is how we look at mainly Arti comes to a teacher. Not Artharthi. But nowadays, Artharthi do come also, don't worry. So in fact, nowadays, Artharthi are more than Arti now, okay? So Artharthi not necessarily only, money, because security, name and fame, especially in India, of course in overseas also, people become religious or join religious organization or go to different places. I have seen, in fact, including in Italy also I have seen. Many people join churches and other things. Not that they are interested in church, but to have some power and position. So you are somebody. If you do not go, you are nobody. So that is called Artharthi. Here also temple you know better, I don't want to get into. Here, what we say is that when a person is either Arti or Artharthi, both way. As long as the person is Arti, will listen to the teacher. Because helpless. The moment that phase is over, some type of strength the person gets, some type of solace the person gets, then what happens? Now that person either will become Artharthi, craving for power and position, or will continue parallel thinking. So when this parallel thinking continues, sorry, teaching never enters. That's why many people end up in ashrams and are good for nothing. Not because they were not serious, not because they were bad. No. Problem what has happened is as they came in, but because of lack of Shraddha mainly, they continued parallel thinking. That's why if you observe in those days how we handle this parallel thinking. In Gurukulam, the Guru will give a task. Like we have beautiful example, take the cow, 10 cow till it becomes 100 or 1000, whatever comes from the mouth. Till that time don't come and ask any question. But nowadays if you ask, who are you to say? Why? What for? I have come here to understand Brahmagyanam. If you can teach. If you do not want to teach, or you cannot teach, or you do not know, tell no. I will find out some other people, okay? There are so many people in the queue. So many gurus in the queue. I can do the guru supping or swipe, okay? Guru swiping, okay? So then what happens? The parallel thinking continues. My only pointing only one point, how this parallel thinking continues. And as long as parallel thinking continues, Vedanta will never enter. So Vedanta becomes more dangerous because the person uses Vedantic information to strengthen parallel thinking. That's why we don't teach Vedanta people unless they are tuned to the teacher and teaching tradition. That's why we make it very clear, Upasana and Seva, Karma Yoga and Upasana. Without Karma Yoga and Upasana, Vedanta will not work and has never worked. So that's why he says very carefully what you need to do. Somehow, Pujya Swamiji's word, he uses, hey look, unless you are okay, you cannot get married because nobody is going to give you a girl. Unless you married, your thing will not be okay. So what to do? Tell lie something, get married, then you become okay. Or both of you start fighting and that becomes life. So also here, try to work on with always this attitude of Seva, Karma Yoga, Upasana, and of course listening to Vedanta, so that I will see more people in the class, or else there will be nobody. Continuing. Yatheva darshamadhyaste rupentah paritastushaha tathevasmin sarirentah Paritah Parameswarah. So in this verse, again he says beautifully, the concept is really nice to understand, that how mainly when we look at this Deha Abhimana, mainly, because all the time he is highlighting this Deha Abhimana, because why? Also, let us not forget this thing, the background. All these scholars started criticizing him that he was Astavakra, okay? His body was 8 crooks or 8 bends. So that's why everywhere he brings this Deha Abhimana very carefully. So in this he says, look, first is he uses this prakriya methodology called Brahmatyaga prakriya, where delusion is supposed to be dropped, given up. And what is that? Deha abhimana tyaktva atma vyapakatvam gyam iti. So that atma is all pervasive to be understood. And how? So he gives one example. That example is called upama prakriya iti. So this example is what? Adarsha and pratibimba takes the help of a mirror. How in a mirror reflection happens. So now if you observe, now let us look at with this how he wants to say. Look, यथा आदर्श मध्यस्थे रूपे सह अंतः परितः दृश्यते तथा एव अस्मिन् शरीरे परमेश्वरः अंतः परितः च अस्ति. So when you start standing in front of a mirror, now what happens in mirror? Now you are not only in mirror, around mirror. In fact, do you see mirror or do you see yourself? Be honest. Imagine if the mirror does not reflect you, will you keep that mirror in your house? So you are not interested in the mirror, you are interested in yourself. So that means what? In and around mirror, you only available. So that's why you try to see this way, that way. And there are people, they don't like proper mirrors. That's why they want convex, concave, all the mirrors, okay? So bigger, especially ladies when they want to make up, okay? So I remember the first time when I went to, those days I used to go to this IKEA. Nowadays that interest is gone, okay? So every trip I used to go to IKEA just to explore what is new. So first time I saw one mirror, okay, like this size mirror. A tabletop mirror, you can say, around one. So then I say, hey, I didn't understand what for this is. When you look at the face, it looks very big. What is all about it? So of course, there are people to explain, experts explains. This is for makeup, because so that every line and everything is visible. Which is good. Imagine in that mirror, if your face is not visible, what will happen? Will you keep that mirror? So how this happens? Now he says same point here. Tatha, in the same manner, asmin sharire, in this body, Parameshwara, here Atma ityartha, Atma or Parameshwara, Paramatma, Antah Paritah cha Vyapate. Arthat, Atma, all of us we know, Atma kevala hridayastha. The Atma is in the heart. So that's why people keep the hand here, okay? Namaste. You understand? All these actions you can see. All smiles. No, not necessarily. Atma is not only in Hridaya. Na kevalam hridayastha. Apitu sarvange vyapyate iti. Means it is everywhere available. It is everywhere ityartha. So that's why what you need to do. Here he says, in this manner, deha abhimanam tyaktva. One is supposed to give up this deha abhimana. So after giving up this deha abhimana, Atma Vyapakatam Gyatavyam iti. So the person what is to do? Now need to establish one's own self, understanding it. Then only what will happen, once this person understands this way, then definitely the person will be having moksha, liberation ityarthaha. The last verse. Ekam sarvagatam vyoma bahirantar yatha ghate nityam nirantaram brahma sarvabhutagane tatha. If somebody is not that much comfortable with the example of this adarsha, the mirror, he says, look, don't worry, I have another example. Astavakra doesn't want to leave. He says, look, this is Vishwa Vyapakatvam Atma Tattvasya. For this Atma, that is all pervasive, to be established in different ways. So what he says, look, Yatha Ghate Vyomah Ekam Sarvagatam. So that means, if we observe very carefully, that as the one all-pervading space exists where anta cha vahi cha. So, if we see very carefully, the space that is pervaded both inside a pot and also outside a pot. That's why we say the house is in the space or space is in the house. Which one is right? The space is in house or house is in the space? Whatever you say, I'll answer you accordingly, okay? This is called, day-to-day life and Vedanta. For a common person, it's confusing. For less intelligent, it is convincing. Whereas, if you are a serious, also you understand what is the truth. For a common person, what is the space in house in the space? Whereas if you are a little bit less, of course space is in my house. Not only in the house, in my house, okay? That's why my space. But what is the truth? The reality is, the house itself is in space. So how that? Same thing also. Space is everywhere. So he gives this pot. So the space externally and internally, inside and outside, everywhere is there. In fact, only space is there. So too, tatha nityam nirantaram brahma sarva bhutagane asti iti. So he takes one step ahead. So too, Brahman is eternal and available in all beings. So that means there are not many Brahmans, only one Brahman that is everywhere. So in this process, again, what he wants to highlight, that when you start working with this Dehabhimana Tyaga, then you do not create a division. This is mine, that is theirs. This is my body, that is others' body. This is that is that. So take care of this delusion. And interestingly, when you look at this, as it happens with reference to pot, also it can happen to anything. Now, when a person understands this, this is what the whole concept is, that one should spend some time whenever Dehabhimana happens naturally, spontaneously. The best thing would be the moment Dehabhimana happens in me, seeing that how much it can take me or how far it is taking me, then I need to work on to reverse back. So that I am not afraid of my mind projection, nor afraid of this world or anybody. At the same time, I am continuously working with myself. With this first chapter is completed. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.